and welcome to Multiple Shenanigans, the Blue Interruptions episode. I'm Lytisha.
And I'm Jeanette.
Welcome. So Jeanette, how's your week been?
It's been okay. Kind of trying to think what's happened. Just had a funny conversations and things this week. My mum, who she's over 70, so she's like really, when's my jab and letter gonna come? She's quite
keen.
Yeah, and she was she's saying, I'm not going out now. Don't want to risk it. Just gonna stay in. But she said, I went just into town to get a few things before that, and I went to the bakery and I got 20 pies. 20 pies. I was like, 17
other people?
What, Mum? She's going to survive COVID, but have a heart attack straight after. I was telling my brother, I was like, sent him a text, Mum bought 20 pies. he replied and said, oh, she's just putting them all in the freezer. I was like, what? Can you imagine opening her freezer and there's like 20 pies? I was like, it'd be like a pie library in there.
It could have been worse. It could have been 4 and 20 pies.
4 and 20 pies baked in a pie.
Pies in your pies.
I'm just a bit concerned about her now, like how. And then she went, so that's 10 days of pies. So they're obviously, I hope they're small pies. So then my mum and stepdad have one each. But surely that's too many pies. So I found that was funny. We laughed about that quite a while. Just what is she doing? Help my mum.
Oh no.
But that was funny. Also, and I had you remember me saying that an occupational therapist I was getting referred to, she phoned up yesterday.
Okay.
And we did a video call appointment. And it was a bit, I don't know, it was odd. Because first of all, she was like, what do you do in a day? And I was thinking, I don't really do much. But as I was saying things, she was like, oh, that's a lot though, isn't it? So it was really odd because somebody, like, I'm constantly beating myself, but I haven't done enough, I'm not.
Which is very common, I think.
Yeah, I think it is, isn't it? Mm. But she's like, really should have a rest after doing that. So it was weird. And she's like, when I say rest, it's not just, you can't be watching the television because your brain is still processing. You just have to go and sit quietly somewhere. I was like, what? Can I not just do loads of stuff, get really knackered and then sleep for all of the rest of the day? Yeah. And apparently that's not good.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I think we all manage it differently, don't we? Energy levels and everything. When I was going out to work in the olden days, when I used to leave the house to go to work and come back, and then go out in the evening because I had a life. In those days, I used to go to work, come home, sleep, wake up, eat, go out, come home, sleep, wake up, eat, go out. So I used to have 2 days in every day.
Yeah.
Because for me, that worked for me because I could just about get through the working day. And then by the time I got home, it was like completely zonked. And then I'd have a little rest. And then I was like, oh, I feel okay now. I can go and see a friend. And then come back, and it might have been quite late when I came back, but it was quite late when I went out because I'd had 3 hours sleep in between. So that worked for me. But for other people, I've got other friends who like to, as you say, start, do everything, collapse, stop, sleep, wake up, do what you can, stop, wake up. So I think there are different ways of approaching.
It felt quite weird actually, yeah, because I am constantly like, oh, I've not done enough stuff, and then for somebody to go, do you think you should be doing that? Who isn't my mum? Yeah. I was like, oh.
Do you think you've not done a lot because you haven't thought about all the things you've done? I know.
It's like the guilt that comes with just having a sit down. I can't really get rid of that. I don't know.
See, I live on my own, so I don't feel anybody, not that necessarily they would be, but I don't have the thought that somebody thinks I'm doing nothing when I should be doing something if I'm resting.
Oh, it's all in here. It's not anybody else.
No.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing nothing, I am quite often sitting staring at the telly, which is.
Yeah, well, that's what she said. That's not resting. Your brain is like do 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 do. It's just like that. Do 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 do.
Depends what you're watching.
I mentioned that I did Zumba, and she was like, "What?" As if that's too much. Which, yeah, that's probably why I slept very, very, very late today. But she's like, you can't do the Zumba, then go make your tea, which I do sometimes. She's like, no, don't do that. Do it, go and sit down for 10 minutes, which I did yesterday. And Alex was in the other room. I was like, have I had my 10 minutes yet? Can I leave? Can I stop doing this now? So how has your week been?
Well, my week's been a lot better than last time.
Good.
I've been isolating because I had a COVID test. So I'm part of the online Zoe group thing for COVID. That's if anybody hasn't seen it, we'll put a link in. It's where you report how you feel every day, and you report a group of symptoms. But because I happen to have a combination of two things. One was just a slight sniffle, and the other was feeling a bit low, and I'd had that for a couple of days. So they offered me the suggestion to go for a test, which, as it's part of their studies, it's a different test. You tick different boxes to, if you're not feeling well, you go to this one, tick those boxes. Okay. Yeah. So when you apply for your COVID test online, you tick the boxes that say you're part of a national study. So I did that, and having had some previous nightmares trying to book appointments right in the early days of COVID, I was really surprised that they offered me one within like 10 minutes. I was like, oh, no, I'm not quite ready to go out the door yet.
Yeah, so, I'm in my pajamas.
Exactly. And the test site happens to be like a 10-minute walk from my house, and it was a walk-in centre. But I decided to drive because it was absolutely tipping down with rain, and I was feeling a bit not quite right, so I thought I'd rather drive. So I drove to the walk-in test site. Then I got out and walked around the corner. I went in. It was really smooth. They were really friendly down there, really helpful. I did it all the scraping the back of your throat, sticking out your nose thing, and sent it off. You should hear within 72 hours, they said. I thought, okay. And my previous experience of results was that I'd had them like within 12 to 14 hours. So I thought, that's okay. I wonder if I'll get to go out and meet my friend Thursday. It's taken us about 5 weeks to arrange when we could both do our exercise at the same time for a slight stroll around. And I didn't get the results, so I had to postpone that. Oh. And then I planned to do an online shop again, but I had to postpone that. And the results came in negative, so I'm all fine, as I suspected, because
the suspense was killing me. Who got it? Do you know what's doing this?
So I got my results, my all clear results, 10 minutes before we came online. So I've just had my negative result. So that's good. So I am free now to go out and go to the shop. Free to go to the shop. Yeah. But in the meantime, my lovely neighbour had passed me by and said, I'm going to the shop, do you want anything? Which is why I had some chocolate that I was eating right at the beginning when we joined the Zoom to record this, and I was able to offer you a piece of chocolate through the computer.
Who does that? That's so mean.
I've got some.
Your neighbours are always bringing you cool foods.
Oh, I've got great neighbours.
It's not on. It's not on at all.
No spherical cakes yet, though, but you know.
Yeah. That's what it's like. Oh, I've started making mug cakes. We don't even get into that. They're so easy.
Do you know, that was what I did yesterday. I was going to make a mug cake because I've never made one, and everybody says how easy it is. So I'm going to ask you how to do it in a moment. But does your recipe involve milk?
Yes, but
I don't have milk.
do you have milk alternative?
No, I use orange juice on my cereal.
Ah.
So that's what happened to me yesterday when I thought, oh, I can't learn how to do this marvelous mug cake because I don't have milk. And then when I was looking up alternatives, because I'm sure there are lots of alternatives, because I've made chocolate cake with a vegetable. Which one? You can substitute a vegetable, but I can't remember which one.
I've had a courgette chocolate cake.
Courgette, that's it. You can courgette instead of milk. So I could do that, but I didn't have any courgettes. So I went and looked in my cupboards, bearing in mind I wasn't allowed out the house to replenish my chocolate stock or anything. And I did find I had literally just a couple of squares of chocolate and a tin of milk, not milk, cream, thick cream. So I just whipped up, and I had chocolate mousse. I made myself some chocolate mousse that lasted me.
Wow.
Really nice. I was very proud of myself because I'm very rubbish at making anything.
So you can have milk, but you just don't have any. Is that what you're saying, or you don't?
I don't drink milk. It always makes me feel a bit not great, but I wouldn't avoid it in products.
Okay.
And cream and ice cream, I believe, are exempt.
They're just a different thing.
Just a different thing altogether. But they don't have the same effect on me.
I've just got to go back to the having orange juice on cereal thing.
Yeah? Don't you do that?
I've got issues with that. It's just...
Well, you might have a glass of juice with your cereal, mightn't you?
You might.
And put milk on your cereal. Well, not having any milk, you need something juicy, wet on your cereal. So I have fresh orange juice on my cereal.
You also might have a glass of juice with, say, some chips. But they're no replacement for peas or beans or...
No. But also, I have Weetabix, cheap version, wheat biscuits. I think.
That's worse.
Yeah. I crumble them up. I don't leave them whole. So I crumble them up.
It gets worse and worse.
It's lovely, really, really. Crumble up your Weetabix, put in some fresh fruit, some bits of banana and some bits of kiwi fruit is my fruit of the week. Pour over some orange juice. Oh, it's delicious.
Made some fruity mush.
Yeah.
So wrong.
It's healthy because it's like loads of fruit and some fibre, but I'm sure there's a huge amount of sugar in there as well. But it's not the sugar that comes on the cereal.
Just going to have to pretend you've never said all of these things for us to be able to carry this on. Where were we? Why are you telling me this terrible, awful...
Oh, that was how my week was.
Oh, mug cake.
Mug cake, that's it. Yes. How do you make a mug cake?
So 3 tablespoons of flour,
mm-hmm.
a quarter of baking powder, quarter teaspoon, 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder. Mm-hmm. It says 2 tablespoons of sugar in my recipe, but it's an American recipe, so they're a bit sweet on. So I just use 1 and it's absolutely fine. Mix it all together, and a dash of salt, mix it all together. Then 3 tablespoons of milk or a milk alternative.
But not orange juice.
This is not a milk alternative, it's not. And 1 tablespoon of oil or butter. I used oil. Mix it all together. Oh, and I got some dark chocolate and broke it up and popped it in. 70 seconds in the microwave. And it's enough for 2, So I'm thinking when you break that down,
yeah,
it's pretty healthy, just half a portion of that. Well, it's not healthy, but it's not the worst.
No.
But obviously, because I've got no sense of control, having them a lot. Just keep having them.
I think maybe you get it from your mum.
Yeah, I was brought up by somebody who buys 20 pies, as if that's okay. Blue.
Blue. It's a blue day. Tell us about your blue, Jeanette.
Well, my happy memory of this blue shirt that I've got, one day, it was my birthday one year, and not much was happening, and I was organised something to happen at night, but not much going on the day. And I put this shirt on with a nice kind of big skirt and a belt, went into town, I was feeling pretty good, and somebody came up to me, and well, they didn't come up to me, they were just with a friend. They passed me and they looked at me and they went, oh, she knows how to dress. And it was so lovely.
It's nice.
It's like, yeah, thanks. And then we high-fived and everything. No, we didn't do that, but I wanted to. And then I went into town, went to John Lewis, had tea and cake with a free voucher, which is right up my street, bought myself with a scratch card, a lottery scratch card, and I won a tenner. And I was like, it's my birthday, look at my outfit.
It's certainly your lucky day as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that was actually your birthday? Yeah? Brilliant. That's a brilliant birthday blue shirt story.
Yeah. So every time I put it on, that, and it looks quite a dull blue shirt, but it's what you put it with.
Yeah. It doesn't look a dull blue. It's has it got a bit of a shimmer to the fabric?
A little bit, but I don't know if that's my poor ironing. Put on too hot. And it's got a little hole in it somewhere, because it's just so comfy and nice that I just worn it too much.
You don't want too much, you've enjoyed it. That's important.
I've enjoyed the shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go get lottery tickets. Playing poker, a home game of poker tonight. I reckon I'm probably going to win.
Blue shirt day, winner. Yeah. Brilliant.
I'm not going to tell the OT about this. Like, can't do a podcast and then go play poker. That's too much. How about your blue outfit?
Well, I'm wearing a blue dress that is, you know, when you see something and you think, I'll never wear that, and somebody talks you into. I was with my auntie. My auntie lives down in London and I'm in Nottingham, so she comes up twice a year. She's in her late 80s, so it's a big expedition when she comes up. And we like to go to the charity shops. So we went to Sherwood. I took her to Sherwood because there are a plethora of charity shops, good ones in Sherwood. Yeah. And this particular occasion, we walked down through the ones that I often go to, and we went down to the Scouts charity shop, which I'd never been in before. And it turned out to be a complete treasure trove.
Like an underground secret speakeasy.
Been down to the end of the high street. Yeah, so we both were, and it's changed now, but at the time it was absolutely rammed. Like you could barely look at things because there were so many things. They've organised it, taken a bit out now and organised it a bit better. But that kind of made it more exciting because you didn't know what you were going to find in there. And my auntie found a couple of skirts and a nice blouse. And then she said, why don't you try that dress? And I was like, I don't think it's me really. She said, oh, try it on. So I tried it on and I love it. And I wear it all the time. I really like it. And it's got this bit like your jumper that you had on the other day, but it doesn't. Yeah. So it's really cool. I really like it. And it's cozy as well. It looks quite smart, but not too smart, but it feels comfortable, which is really, really nice.
And you've helped out the Scouts.
The Scouts, yes.
My brother was in the Scouts for a very long time, and to the point where he probably would be a bit ashamed. Like, I was surprised he carried it on for so long. I went to Brownies for about 2 weeks, and they tried to get me to dress up as a Weetabix for the carnival float, and I was just like, I'm not doing that, and I just got out of there.
Wow, do you not like dressing up?
I love dressing up, but I just didn't want to be who wants to be a Weetabix? And it was coming on the back of a nativity. I was like a shepherd. I was always given the kind of,
not the starring roles,
not like the horrible roles. let's put this odd-looking weird child into a sympathy costume or we'll let her play, but we'll undermine a sense of self.
Oh no! So it all started with the guides. Yeah.
So now I wasn't going for that. I was just like, nah, I can't. Too much order here for me. But my brother really went for Scouts.
Bring on the chaos. I didn't do so well in the guides because I had a problem with the authority figures there, really, I think. I passed my flower arranging badge just, and I passed my hostess badge, which made my mum laugh uproariously. But yeah, that was about it, really. I didn't get very far with that. Whereas my brother, who was a total nonconformist, in a later life, he got stopped by the police when he was about 22, got stopped by the police because of what he was wearing. He was wearing purple knee-length rugby socks, some shorts where one leg was black with fluorescent green spots and the other was fluorescent green with black spots, and a multicoloured Hawaiian shirt and a bobble hat because it was winter. And the police stopped him, and he came home going, I've been stopped by the fashion police. And my mum's going, what? He said, well, they stopped me and said, you've got to be on something if you're wandering around looking like that. He said, it's just my style. So yeah, he was not the conformist, but he went to Cubs and went all the way through to Scouts, and he didn't do ventures, but he almost did ventures. But then he went off to the one at the RAF where you got to fly a plane. What are they called? Air Cadets. So he did Scouts all the way through to the point when he suddenly realised if he went to the Air Cadets, he got to fly a plane. So he swapped at that point. So he went through all of that, and he was a non-conformist, whereas I just lasted a couple of months. And
my brother too. It's maybe like the Scouts
nurture non-conformists and the guides don't.
No, yeah, really odd. Yeah, my brother, you wouldn't have imagined that he'd be so into it.
Yeah.
They need the discipline of a Scout's life, maybe. I don't know what happens at Scouts.
I know what happens at Cubs because I used to go, my brother was 9 years younger than me, so there was quite a big age gap. So I used to go down to meet my brother and walk him home from Cubs when he was little, because I was a teenager then. And I really fancied the Arcala that was running it, and I ended up going out with Arcala.
You crossed a boundary there. That's just...
I wasn't in their group.
Yep.
My mum couldn't work out at first why I volunteered to go and pick my brother up instead of being sent to go and pick my brother up. So, well, I'll go and get my brother today.
You were literally scouting out.
I was indeed.
What's our topic then? Interruption. Interruption, yeah. So yeah, we got this out of a book.
A random word comes from a book.
But weirdly, I find it's quite apt. When I was on the trial in Sheffield, we would have to do, like a couple of times for years, massive questionnaires about how things are going. And one of the questions was, do you, in a conversation, will you interrupt people? And I read that and I was like, oh shit, yeah. I hadn't thought of that as being a potential symptom. And then I realised, yeah, it's part of your kind of brain, either, what's the word when it's, like, there's not an impulse control for that sometimes, where your brain makes an association with what's being talked about and doesn't want to lose the information or forget and just goes in.
The fear of forgetting it, yeah.
It's really horrible because it makes you look like a terrible person.
That's really interesting because I hadn't any idea that that could be related to symptoms, but I do that, and I'm aware I do that sometimes, and I keep trying to bite my tongue and stop myself from doing it. So, yes, but what about you? And then you try and take off in a different tack, and somebody's in the middle of explaining something else.
Yeah, and it's like, it's happening, you can't stop it. And my brain just tags on to things I recognise, and then even when it's not appropriate. So, like, for instance, I was thinking, if somebody's telling a story and it can be like really important, say, oh, I don't know, I will go to Wilton Hall with my late mother, and that's really important to me. And I'll just like burst in with, oh yeah, I once did a colouring competition there. And it's like, because my brain's just gone, that's a place, that's what I know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a monster. They tell me something really important and significant, and I've just told a really trivial, anecdotal, stupid story.
But do you feel when you've finished telling it that you want to carry on with their story?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I do that sometimes, and that's why I find I'm trying to bite my tongue, but then I'm aware I'll forget what I'm biting my tongue for, and I'm not really paying attention because I'm conscious of trying not to say something.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm so aware of it that I'll think about it afterwards, like, oh God, I did this. But you can't, I'm aware of it at the time, like, oh God, did I just do that? But you then can't go, oh, I'm really sorry, I did this, I think it's an MS thing, because then you'd be like, me.
Yeah.
Can we just go on to my problems and issues? Forget your dead mother or whatever it is. So it's just horrible. And I wish that was not a thing.
I'm really interesting that you said that, because I had no idea that was a thing. I thought that was just me being rubbish sometimes.
Yeah. I wouldn't have known apart from this, and I looked into it. And also, I tend to do it. I was thinking when we went to, when we were stuck in New York, poor Nikki, who was staying with me, had to pretty much, and we didn't have to, she was an absolute joy. We spent a lot of time together just going around doing whatever we could because most things were closed. But because I've been there before, I just, so many boring, stupid anecdotes. Oh, I went here once for like a sandwich, just over and over again, just because my brain's making these connections, and I almost don't have the filter to stop those things coming out. And that's just, I even said to her, this must be a nightmare for you, but she's so lovely and nice. She was like, ah. And even though I said, and then I still couldn't stop doing it. One time, I went here and had a Coke. It's just, yeah, well done.
That made me think about something. I was driving somewhere with a friend that didn't grow up where I grew up, and we were going through where I grew up, and I remember telling them, that's where I bought my first car, from that person that lives at that house, and that's where my boyfriend when I was 12 lived in. And it must have been exactly that. It was just not what she was in the car for. She wasn't coming on a guided tour of streets that were relevant to my early childhood.
I think it is because your brain struggles to get information out. So anything that's familiar, or you might have something, you just cling to it, and it's so shameful. And I do think about it a lot.
And it causes you worry, obviously.
Yeah, it does, because if I met that person, I'd be like, you are awful. But
Yeah.
then you get caught in a, stop thinking this because it's not all about you. But I'm thinking about it because I believe I've made people think that I think it's all about me. And it's like, there's no escape.
And I bet they haven't thought that. So you're thinking for them. You're making.
They don't care less because it's not all about me.
There's a lot of getting your head around what's going on, isn't there, with MS? And a lot of it, I think, is the internal dialogues that we have. Yeah, I often think I'm not doing a lot, and that people I know tell me that I do a lot compared to them, and they don't have MS, for example. But I don't think I'm doing a lot, because I think the things that they know that I'm doing are actually everything that I'm doing. I'm not doing all the other stuff that they're doing. I'm not also having a family, or also having a full-time job, or also doing the things that they see on Facebook or whatever. Or I've got a friend who's got a bad habit of saying, "Oh, my life's really boring. I don't do a lot, and you just do everything. You do all the fun stuff for me." I'm like, no, I'm asleep most of the time. You're doing all of it. You've got this family, you've got this job, you're studying, you're doing all this amazing stuff, but you don't think you're doing anything. Whereas I don't think I'm doing anything, and it's a perception thing, isn't it?
Yeah. That's why the idea of interruptions is quite relevant, even though we just got it out of a book.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I feel like pre-MS, then MS happened and like it interrupted. But because it was really bad for a while and then I got a bit better, there's still a part of me that sees this parallel life that I was interrupted and now I can resume that. And so having this conversation with the OT where she's like, no, you can't really do that now. You've got to kind of go on along another path. So there's always part of me thinking,
you want to get back to path A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've failed, or I was interrupted, but can I go back and start now? But I'm not at the stage I would have been. And now I didn't have that time to fail a little bit in my career or writing or whatever. So can I go back? And it's really odd, isn't it? It's like,
it is. And when you put it like that, I often think, well, if I wasn't broken, I'd be doing this. So that's sometimes how I think of MS, like being a bit broken. And I'm like, but other things might have happened in that life that could be worse.
Yeah.
So it does interrupt your life.
Yeah.
But it's still your life, and that we're still doing our own life. It's just been, as you say, interrupted, and the path has been interrupted. Perhaps the projected trajectory, that's quite tricky to say, the projected trajectory that we had imagined.
Yeah, there's not really a ghost life going on that I would have been better, or these things happened and this is it, this is the and I thought I was kind of okay with that, but then I realized that I've probably not accepted that part of it, that because I wouldn't be going, why haven't you done more, you should be doing this by this point. That still remains, even though somebody on the phone going, oh, you've done a lot, do you think you should do that? And you're like, really?
I wonder if that's an MS thing, or if a lot of people have that, because if you think about it, everybody's life has interruptions of different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I, for example, hadn't planned on losing my mum and my brother within a year.
Oh, dear, no.
When I'm the one that they were looking after. And it's kind of like, well, that's not right. My brother was younger than me. That wasn't supposed to happen. But you can't control that. You can't plan for it, and you can't foresee it. He had an accident. That was that. It's just. And he wasn't even wearing outrageous clothing at the time either. It was just, it's one of those things, isn't it? So other people's lives are interrupted differently as well. I mean, I guess Alex's life has been interrupted to some degree because his partner's life changed with MS. So it's not just because yours was interrupted because you've got MS, but other people's lives are interrupted by different things as well. Not just MS.
He has to hear all those like anecdotal stories about anything that comes
again. When I was at university, one of my best friends used to call me Tangent Tish, because whatever we were talking about, I'd go off on a tangent. Now, thinking about it, that's exactly what you were talking about. So somebody would be talking about something and I've gone, oh, that means this, and gone off that way. But equally, thinking about it again, I think the two things that we do, so that creative writing and improv, you couldn't do that without having the kind of mind that does that.
Yeah, that's true. It does. It has purposes.
Yeah.
But I'm super conscious of how annoying it can be. To me, I'm imagining that it's annoying to other people, but it's probably the most annoying to me.
I'm most conscious of the fact that I might start, when I see somebody or start talking to somebody, I'll start talking about the thing I want to talk about because I don't want to forget, without doing the, hi, how are you? How are you getting on? Da, 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 beforehand. I go, hi, have you got a spanner that's this big? Because I'm doing this, as opposed, you know, without, and it's not because I'm not interested in what they're doing. It's just that if I don't do that bit at the beginning, I think I forget.
Yeah.
Which I guess doing emails and things is slightly better because I write what I want to say and then I read it and then I go back and put the thing at the front that you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Supposed to, but the thing that you mean to put at the front, but you've forgotten because you're putting the blur there before you forget.
Yeah, it'd be good if you could edit your. No, it wouldn't. It'd be really weird. Your everyday conversations. Let's just go back a bit. Didn't mean to be awful.
So I think that about covers Blue Interruptions.
I was going to do a comedy interrupt of you there, but I
think we should.
couldn't find the time to interrupt it. But you know,
You can't interrupt as a deliberate thing unless you're doing an interruption game, and then yeah. So anyway, that's us. That's Blue Interruptions.
So next time we're going to have Jess, who is an improviser, and yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So for now, I've been Lytisha.
And I've been Jeanette.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.